Today, another international IT security podcast, an English episode, because we have Michael Calce here with us, or probably more known as MafiaBoy, a former computer hacker who's launched several DDoS attacks in 2000 against internet's biggest sites at that time. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So, okay, you have hacked CNN, eBay, Yahoo and Amazon, but now you're a security specialist and author as well.
Yes, since the attacks, I devoted my life to raising awareness around this topic, and I authored a book that discusses my story, and I use sort of that platform to help companies, individuals, and governments.
All right. But okay, let's go back in time a bit. Can you please tell me how everything started?
Sure. My journey started out at a really young age. I was 6 years old when I got my first computer, and I was 9 years old when I accessed the internet for the first time. And I was quickly exposed to this community of hackers. I found it on my journey when I was looking for pirated software. And as it turns out, hackers ran the distribution of this pirated software. So I wanted to gain quicker access to it, and I decided at this point that I should become a hacker.
All right.
And I joined on an IRC network of EFNet, which is Internet Relay Chat. And there was tens of thousands of hackers. And I devoted my time to becoming the number one hacker.
Yeah. But how was your first experience when you received your computer? I read that you received it at your father's house, and when you opened it up, and how it was like a new world for you or something.
What an amazing feeling. Honestly, I remember like it was like yesterday. My dad put the box in front of me and he said, "Here, you figure it out." And I couldn't wait. I plugged it in, powered it on. I heard all the beeping noises and churning sounds, and after it booted in, the system just sat there and it was waiting for me to input a command. And that's when I realized at that very moment, I am the master of this device.
All right. But how come you came into the dark side, so to speak?
Yeah, that was not intentional or planned, but at a certain point, I wanted to buy video games and pieces of software for my system, and I wasn't sure if my dad was going to give me his credit card, especially since a lot of video games and software were expensive. So I needed to find a way to illegally download this stuff, which was known as Juarez back in the day, which was pirated software. And I found it, but I couldn't get immediate access to it. I would ask the automated bot to give me the program that I wanted or the game that I wanted, but it would put me in a huge queue order, and I was on a 14.4K modem, so I wasn't going to get this game or software that I wanted for a very long time. And when I realized that hackers were the ones distributing it, that's when I decided I'm going to go into the dark side.
All right. Yeah, I've heard that you also used social engineering only as like 10 years old kid who described yourself as an administrator of the American online community. And can you?
Yeah, I was actually 9. To
9. Okay, 9.
I was 9 years old. Big difference there.
Yeah, of course.
So when I was on America Online for the first time, it was actually given to me as a 30-day free trial period. And again, same issue. Wasn't sure if my dad was going to give me his credit card to stay online and reinstate the AOL internet service. So I needed to find a way to continue online without paying for it. That's when I had access to a program known as AOL, which granted me the ability to simply appear as an administrator to other AOL users. Because the administrators on America Online, their name was in a different color.
You were also capable to throw people off AOL. I mean.
Right. In the same program, there was the ability to punt a user, which would basically sever their internet connection to AOL. And I think that was my first actual interest in hacking and kind of having that power and capability.
Right.
So I needed to find a way to stay online, and I used this administrative capability to fool other users, convincing them that I was an administrator to give me their login and password.
Okay, but you are most famous for hacking one of the major sites at that time, as I started with. How did you do that?
So in the late 90s, when I was a part of a really well-known elite Russian hacker group that went by the name of TNT Force, when I joined them, I became under fire by denial of service attacks by other hackers that were trying to take out me and other members.
But the TNT group, they recruited you, right?
Yeah, they recruited me at the age of 12.
Did they know that?
No, nobody knew anybody's age online.
All right.
To be fair, even in the private channel of TNT, like 2 of the main members were literally from Russia, and I didn't understand half of the things that they were saying because it was broken English and mixed with Russian, and so it was an interesting experience. But I had access to some of the brightest minds in the world in terms of technology.
Yeah. Yeah, and about this distributed.
So when I joined them, I became the focus fire of the other hacker groups and other hackers. And denial of service was really potent style of attack used at this point in time. And so I decided to start using DDoS attacks against my competition. Now the problem was when I wanted to launch a large scale attack, nobody was able to do so because we had limited resources, and our actual physical computer was, a Pentium 133 or something similar. So I needed to find a way and create a concept that would solve this problem. That's when I decided to hack into 30,000 plus networks and combine them all into one network, and created a massive, probably the world's first ever denial of service botnet. So no one had ever seen this before.
Oh, okay, so you actually planted the malicious code by yourself?
Absolutely.
All right, okay.
Did you write the program yourself?
Yeah, so I used a variation of several programs. The main one that I used for the majority of my attacks were my own creation, and I used a co-author which went by the name of Sinkhole, who was a hacker from another group that wasn't a rival to us, but he was a very close friend of mine. And I also sampled some other programs that were being created in the space. There was one known as Stacheldraht, which means barbed wire in German.
Oh, yeah.
So I've sampled with other people's technology and software that they were creating, but the program that I created was the most effective.
All right. So how did you have time for all this to program? I mean, you went to school and did some sports and...
I didn't sleep very much
No,
as
you
a
didn't?
child.
Okay.
Yeah. It was interesting because I still maintained somewhat of a social life. Like I balanced it out. I played soccer. I played basketball. And I hacked all night, every night.
Okay. And what sites did you hack? I mentioned some of them.
Yeah, Yahoo, eBay, CNN, Dell, Amazon.
Yeah. And no one was on to you, like you didn't...
No,
at the beginning.
I was I fell victim to my own ego at this point.
Right.
I was young. I was 15 years old, and I started boasting to other hackers in the community that I was the one responsible for these attacks, and the FBI started to catch up on that.
By the time, wasn't it so that there were very little protection on sites for DDoS attacks?
Absolutely.
It
was more of a lot of it came down to certain packet types. There was packet filters in place, and it was also, when you look at a giant like Yahoo, the amount of bandwidth that they had available to them in comparison to everyone else was literally scary. So you needed massive amounts of bandwidth. But even to this day, there's, there's obviously Cloudflare, you have solutions and stuff, but denial of service will always remain potent.
Yeah. But when you saw the news, as a 15-year-old kid, you saw the news that these sites were hacked and there was a cyber attack going on. What do you think? Is this me? Did you know that it was you?
Oh, I knew it was me, trust me, and I pretty much crapped my pants at that point. Being a 15-year-old kid and sitting on a couch and watching live TV, and watching the President of the United States, the former President of the United States, Bill Clinton, go live on TV and convene the first ever cybersecurity summit based on what you did, that's a lot to digest.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's more like it's a big difference between like a normal 15-year-old prank.
Yeah, some of my friends would have fun on Halloween throwing an egg at a house or a toilet paper in a tree. And, I was shutting down major e-commerce sites.
And I read that you were at a friend's house watching movie, and your father called like 3 a.m. in the morning.
You have very good intel. Yes.
Yeah, what happened?
So when they actually came to place the arrest, I don't know if it was strategy on their part or they just made a mistake, because I know they were monitoring my house.
How did you know that?
Because there's a provider that provides all the internet, the majority of the internet and the TV in my area, which was known as Bell, like based after Alexander Graham Bell, who created the telephone. Yeah. So that's basically they have pretty much a monopoly. There's only one other company that competes with them. Anyways, they were always at the end of my street in plain view. I could see them. And they were there every day, all night. And the truth is like, if your internet or your TV went down in that time frame, like they would take like a week to come fix it. And here they were every single day, every night, in front of my house. So I mean, it was pretty obvious.
It's like they say, it's not paranoia if they're really out to get you.
That's exactly accurate.
Okay, so back to that call during the night. What did your father tell you?
So it was a Friday night, which was strategic, which I'll get into in a little bit. My father called me. It was approximately 3 a.m. And he said, "Michael, they're here for you." And I asked, "Who's there?" I knew exactly just from the tone of his voice what he meant. And of course, the FBI and the RCMP, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, were raiding my house and taking every piece of electronic. And they requested that I go to the end of my friend's street and wait to be picked up to be arrested.
Okay, so you got a ride home at least.
I got a ride home, waiting in the dark at 3:30 a.m. at this point.
And how did your parents react to it? Didn't they suspect anything or no?
I had spoken to my father prior, and I let him know that I was the one responsible for these attacks, which was not an easy conversation, but I needed to prepare. And he was shocked, but at the same time was responsive and said, "We need to seek legal counsel." So we went to see a lawyer friend of his, and we started to prepare ourselves.
Okay, and you went to court?
I did. After the arrest took place, which was about 4.5 months after the attacks took place, in February of 2000.
So were you in custody for 4 months then?
No, I mean that it took them 4.5 months to actually, from the time of the attack that took place to actually arresting me, to place the arrest.
Ah, okay.
So after they arrested me, so they arrested me on a Friday because they wanted me, because you can't see a judge until Monday.
All right.
So it was strategic on their end that they wanted me to stay inside lockup and I guess get a taste of what prison would be like over the weekend.
Ah, okay. Did that affect you or anything during that weekend?
No, it didn't work. In fact, I'm going to give you an interesting piece of information here that I don't talk about too often, but when they arrested me, they took me to their head office in the downtown area of Montreal. And this was literally like right out of the scene of The Matrix. Okay?
Okay.
I was in a waiting room with just a desk and a chair, and an agent came in the room and took a stack of folders and slapped it on the desk. And he said, "This is what we got on you. So you're either going to start talking or you're going to go to jail for a very long time." And I remember just giving him the finger. But it was literally like right out of The Matrix when they first pick up Neo.
All right. And then you were sentenced to 8 months in
yeah, so the trial lasted a year and 8 months.
Yeah.
And I pleaded guilty to over 55 accusations. and I received a sentence of 8 months in a group home facility and a $250 fine.
250. It's not that much, but because I read that it was you did damage for over $1 billion.
$2 billion.
$2 billion. Okay.
But that was the maximum penalty per Canadian law to a juvenile.
Okay, so that's not...
So I got lucky in that sense, for sure. If I was over 18, those companies would have been able to sue me civilly, and then I'd be in debt for the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah. But I guess during that time, people didn't know so much about these type of crimes.
No.
Even the FBI or something. Or...
Laws were literally written and passed based on the attacks that I launched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But somewhere during this sentence, you became more of some sort of white hat, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, through the process and through the transition, like, here's the thing. I'm not actually a bad person. I was never a bad person. Yeah. A hacker at this point in time was more of an explorer, exploring uncharted seas. Now, it's very easy to go down the wrong path because also on a computer, you don't really get a sense of what's right or wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like if you do a physical crime, there's more of an immediate sense of remorse, whereas online, you push a keyboard and you push a button, you don't really like feel what's happening. So you don't get that immediate response, but I wanted to do good with my life, and I realized that I wanted to raise awareness, and I wanted to educate companies, individuals, governments in every way that I possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt more like you started your hacking more of a curiosity, or maybe just to communicate with others in technology.
I just like puzzles and problem solving, and that's very parallel to what hacking was.
Yeah.
Understanding assembly code and understanding stack and memory address allocation and kind of putting all these pieces of the puzzle together. Was what I really enjoyed.
But okay, so we take it to present time. What do you do right now?
So I am the president of Optimal Secure, which is a penetration testing firm. I also have an award-winning book, which is MafiaBoy, How I Cracked the Internet and Why It's Still Broken.
Yeah. From 2008 or 2009?
The book?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2008.
Is it still broken internet?
Oh my God, is it ever? I mean, basic rudimentary like protocols haven't changed, right?
Yeah.
Like TCP IP, like the stack, like it's all the same stuff. The fundamentals are still there. We're just tacking on security as an additional layer now, but it's like building a house, right? If your foundation is not sound, then it doesn't matter how pretty the house is on top of it.
Yeah. So when you're doing this security risks assessments and things like that, what are the common things you find as a vulnerability in the companies?
Human beings.
Human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put human beings right at the top. There's a severe lack of education in the space. Companies are not doing enough to put their employees through cyber resilience training, and human beings are just gullible.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to manipulate a human to do what you want.
Can you give us an example of how you...
I mean, look, obviously the traditional, spearheaded phishing vectors have existed for a while, but I go above and beyond that. I like physical type of breaches as well, and don't just rely on remote technology, meaning I'll gain physical access to a building by abusing a supposed level of authority over someone, by misrepresenting who I am, whether I'm from a electrical company or I'm a VP from another region, and give me access to this now. And people don't question authority.
Yeah, I think it was kind of cool when you told me you had a uniform from a Canadian electrical company.
Yes, I mean, dress up is part of the environment, and you need to act the part and look the part. It's a combined tactic.
So that's one part you actually do right now. Dress up when you're doing vulnerability.
Look, obviously, I cater to what my clients' needs are.
Yeah.
It really depends on the type of testing that they want, because I offer a wide array of services.
Yeah.
But absolutely, in a lot of instances, they want me to test the physical access to the building as well.
How often do you succeed breaching the company's
100%.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if we look on a global level, what are the biggest risks right now? Because it's a bit different between 15-year-old kid and today we have.
So the times have changed, and we've incorporated technology in more and more of our lives. The government uses more and more technology as well. I think the biggest issue right now is probably, in my mind, nation-state sponsored attacks and doing damage to critical infrastructure. So we saw an attack a few years ago that took place against the Ukrainian power grid.
Yeah.
So just imagine, your power is taken out because of a hacker.
Yeah, and how can we prevent this? How can we face this?
There isn't one easy answer. It's a collective that we need to all come together. Governments, enterprises, people, we need to view security as a holistic approach.
Yeah.
I think overall people don't understand the importance of security. I feel like some governments lack in security. And I think that we need to put security at the very top, because if you look at how technology has taken over our lives, it is literally an extension of our fingertips. Babies are born, and by the age of 3, they have a tablet in their hand.
Yeah.
This is the world that we live in. And the fact that nobody bothers to read up on security or basic measures, I think that's a big problem.
But do you think we are on the right track? That people are getting more and more aware of the...
Not really.
No.
I'd like to think so. I'm hopeful that we can get to that place, but based on my experience, I feel like still people might hear about it or they might read about it, but they're like, I'm not a target. Nobody's focusing on me. When in reality, that's not how things work. Hackers are mass scanning. Just having an IP address, you're at risk. Just having a name and an identification, you're at risk.
And you are a target.
Everyone is a target.
Yeah, even though you don't. Even if I see myself, I only have a computer. I don't have any.
Doesn't matter the data. You have a name. You have. I don't know what they use here in Sweden, but we have social insurance numbers. I'm sure you have, a number, a birth number associated to you. I could steal that information, go buy a car in your name, make fake identifications, and there's just a plethora of how you could manipulate that situation. So many ways.
Oh yeah. But do you think that things like zero trust networks and stuff, is that something that could mitigate the situation and make it better?
Look, there's a lot of hopeful ideas that I'm looking towards. I think that there's definitely steps in the right direction that are being made, but I would almost like to see some governments intervene and pass more legislation.
Yeah.
For instance, there's a lot of vendors and creators of technology that release things that have known vulnerabilities in them, but they're still allowed to do so because their mentality is rush to market.
Yeah.
And you're just a consumer. You're buying the product, right? You want the newest iPhone. You want the newest gadget.
Or fridge.
Or smart fridge. Sure, why not? People are sold on this. There's like a panic and a hysteria that people they freak out if they don't get the latest gadget. And the reality is a lot of these vendors and creators of these products, they will release these products knowing that there is vulnerabilities in them, and they'll just say, oh, okay, we'll release a vendor patch for that later.
Yeah.
This mentality needs to stop.
Yeah.
Security should be at number one, and you shouldn't be. So I would like to see some form of governance that you have to meet a certain criteria or compliancy before you're allowed to release a product.
Like a smart fridge or something.
Smart fridge, smart TV, everything is getting hacked.
Yeah. Yeah, you told me about your friend in the medical care who was worried about pacemakers.
Yes.
Can you explain?
So, I mean, there's a lot of concepts around the medical devices and what ifs, and my friend wanted to put that to the test and was able to breach over 1 million pacemakers and, for example, incorporate ransomware on them, meaning you would need to pay a fee in Bitcoin or your heart stops ticking.
Okay. Well, that's a bit scary.
I know.
Yeah.
It goes beyond that. They're making devices in hospitals now where a doctor can remotely administer drugs to you. That device has already been hacked.
Oh, yeah.
So now you can purposely make the person overdose on drugs remotely.
Okay, before we end, I'd like to know a bit about what's going on next. You're going to stay here in Sweden until over the weekend and so on?
Yeah, I'm here over the weekend. I'm excited. I've been loving my stay here so far. It's a gorgeous city, and it reminds me a lot of Canada. The people are very friendly here. Seem like some friendly type of Canadian type of mentality. Gorgeous city. I'm looking forward to exploring it, and I'm very intrigued because it seems like there's a lot of tech offerings here as well, and I'm curious to look around.
Right. So anything new from your company that's going on, or?
Look, I mean, I've assumed the role of chairman for the security advisory board for HP, and I think that's a critical role and a critical position I have to help shape a Fortune 50 company worldwide and what their goal and their mission is, and help them achieve that. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Michael.
very much for having me. I appreciate it.